Are you a football fan? Have you ever found yourself wondering, what in the world was that ref thinking? Well, Mike D, the referee, is here to help you. Join me on Whistle Talk as I talk to professionals on the field and in the booth to help you understand what is going on inside the mind of a football official. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Whistle Talk. Before we begin today's episode, just a quick reminder, hit those like buttons, hit those subscribe buttons, give me those thumbs up, give me the thumbs down. I got a thick skin, whatever you need. Just get those algorithms, try to push out the good word of what we're doing here and the good people that I've been lucky enough to have on. Shoot me a comment, shoot me a question, anything you guys have. I'm here for you. Mike D, the referee at gmail.com, but I'd really love to see those thumbs up, those like and subscribe buttons. All those things are for free, so I do truly appreciate that. So today's episode, going back down south again. I enjoy going south here, especially because the weather here in New Jersey has been awful. But got with me today Mr. Chris Garner from the SEC, center judge from the SEC. Chris, how are you doing today?
Hey, Mike, I don't think I've ever been better. Thanks for having me here.
So Chris is a little bit of a unique guest because Chris not only is an SEC official and a center judge, which I haven't had a center judge on yet. So I'm really excited about this because we've talked umpire stuff, but not center judge.
Yeah.
But Chris is also an author. He is a public speaker, keynote speaker. And he's also a former military. So, I mean, it's an honor to have you on here, Chris. First thing I want to say is thank you for your service. Truly appreciate it. Recently, I actually just went to a funeral at Arlington National Cemetery for my wife's uncle. And we were able to bring my kids along, my teenage kids along, so they can get an appreciation of what that is. So, I have the utmost respect for you, Chris, and for all the military people that are out there and the veterans that are out there. Thank you guys very much.
Well, thank you for that, and thank you for taking your family and other people to Arlington National Cemetery. What a wonder! I don't know if "wonderful" is the right word, but it's just an experience as an American citizen, or if you're proud of your country or you respect the people who served. Man, I can't think of a better place to acknowledge that than there. So thank you for doing that.
Oh, absolutely. So, Chris, tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and about your journey in officiating. So I know you started off at the high school level, like most of us, like I am currently up in Ohio. So tell us what got you involved? What initially got you going with officiating?
Yeah, Mike, I just, and this is part of the story. I just got to be very honest and vulnerable with you here. For the longest time, I'll be honest, my life's compass was broke. I didn't know where I was headed or, what I was going to do to make anything of myself in life. I'd gone in and out of college a couple of times and, quit, or I just gave up on it. And then a buddy of mine who was a teacher at a high school had asked me if I wanted to help coach football. And I think all of us, when we're young, we know enough about football to do that. And I said, sure, because I'll be honest with you, I didn't have anything else in my life going on at the time. And so I started coaching football and I started teaching these young men, football it's a great life lesson. It's the only thing I know of where you physically get knocked down every 20 seconds and you got to make a decision whether or not you're going to get back up.
Yeah.
And it really awakened something in me. And you've probably heard other people say this, but it was certainly true for me. And, you mentioned, I'd written a book, and for the longest time, the working title of my book was Football Saved My Life, because it really did. I didn't know where I was headed. I didn't really have any purpose every day until I got into the deep end of the pool of football. And so I'm coaching, and coaching, like, it reawakened a passion in me to do something
Mhm.
with my life. And I got back into college and I graduated because I wasn't going to tell these kids I was coaching to give everything that you have to be successful if I wasn't willing to do it myself. So it saved my life. It awakened a passion in me and it got me back into college. But then when I graduated, I was like, well, now what am I going to do? And for a brief moment, I actually thought about getting into college coaching. But I still do this today when I go to a game site. I'll flip through the program, and it says, "Hey, you know, before coming to New Hampshire University, Mike D was the running back coach at University of Texas El Paso for a year. Before that, he was at Stetson College in Florida for 2 years."
Yeah.
And you just start seeing that the life of a college football coach is not the most glamorous or stable thing. Imagine every 2 years telling your wife and kids that we got to move to another small college town, new school, telling the wife she's got to rebuild her network of friends. We're probably living in an apartment because we know we're not going to be here more than 3 years. And I thought, I don't think that's the pathway for me. And I've always been one of those people, though, Mike, where, I put my money where my mouth is, and I would see some of these games. And I'll be honest with you, I was that guy, even as a coach. You look at someone who, man, this person is, and they're old, they're out of shape. I don't know that they can keep up with the game. I could do better than that guy or that lady or that person, whoever it was. And so I just decided, well, then I'm going to show them. And once I got out of coaching, I decided to become a football official. What better thing to do than have the best seat in the house during a football game, and they actually pay you for it? I mean, this was a dream come true for me. So I was just talking with a buddy of mine here in Alabama. They had a totally different system. In Ohio, you actually have to take a class to get a license. The first year, you can only do games that are lower than Friday night varsity. Man, I did every fifth and sixth grade game I could get my hands on
Yep.
for the first couple of years. And I was lucky to get my second year onto a Friday night varsity high school crew. And I did that. I did that for about 3 years. And then I was lucky enough to get into the local college association. And I think it was like on my fourth year of only working high school football, I got it.
Wow.
I broke into Division III officiating into the Ohio Athletic Conference, which is a fantastic conference because it houses the powerhouse Mount
Mount
Union,
Union.
which,
Yep.
man, I think almost every year they're in the finals for the Division III national championship. So what a great conference to be a part of, starting out in college.
Yeah, so I'm very familiar with the conference itself. So my path kind of was a little bit similar to yours, but I started coaching at college. I started at a Division III
Oh,
college here in New Jersey after
oh
I
wow, that's great.
graduated. And but the same mindset. I was a volunteer, technically a volunteer coach at a Division III,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
we only had two full-time coaches on staff. Everybody else were teachers, and so I thought about it, pursuing which way do I want to go, and then I got offered a high school job, and I'm like, okay, this is probably more suited for me because of what you were saying. I used to always look at the coaches' backgrounds and seeing uh, Washington State, Florida, California, and I'm like, yeah, that's. Although I do love travel, I'm not going to lie about that. But I want to go travel and go on vacation.
That's a
I don't want
different
to
kind of
continue.
travel. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of moving, so I've done it three
yeah,
times already with my family, and it's three too many times in my opinion. I'm hoping to be hunkered
yeah.
down here. But yeah, so that's kind of ironic that you brought that up because I definitely thought the same thing. But I went a little bit longer with the high school. I coached college and high school for a little over 20 years before I decided to transition to put the stripes on. So it was a
Yeah,
little bit longer.
I can appreciate that. As I'm on the backside of my officiating career, I fully understand and realize I have less games and less seasons left in me than I have behind me. That still may be something that I'm kind of tinkering with out there of, just going to the local high school and getting back into it. It's extremely rewarding. Just as officiating is. So who knows? It's certainly where my career started. It might be where it ends when this is all said and done.
Yeah, it's great stuff. And listen, I'm lucky enough that I am still coaching my son's teams. So I got
Great.
one more
Good for
year
you.
of coaching my son's team before he moves on to the high school level. My daughter's in high school now, so I've been lucky to still stay involved in that aspect because it
Great.
is rewarding. But I've also now found how rewarding our job is as the officials, as the people that are trying to have the responsibility to make sure that those young men and women have a great experience in the sport. So
Yep. That's what it's
that's
all
ultimately
about.
my goal.
Good.
So now you had a pretty quick ascension. You went from high school to a Division III, and then
Yeah.
a couple different stops and getting you to the Big
Yeah.
Ten conference.
Yeah.
And then you made a move down south, and you were able to get into the SEC in 2015. Am I correct in saying
Yeah.
that?
That is correct. Yes. Yeah, you got it right.
So, what positions were you officiating prior to becoming a center judge?
Yeah, so I was a head linesman the whole time. Well, I did referee a little bit. I had some aspirations of that.
Okay.
But then it's just like the real world. Everybody wants to be the boss until you're the boss, and you realize that there's paperwork, there's more Zoom calls, there's more. Not that I'm afraid of accountability, but especially when you're on TV every week, you get saddled with, if your side judge makes a terrible pass interference call, everyone just kind of seems to associate it with you, like you did
Yep.
it. And I woke up one day, and as much as I enjoy the referee position, I'm just fine not doing it. So, but yeah, I did referee for a little bit. But primarily it was all headlinesmen. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed being the best headlinesman that I could possibly be. I leaned into the exciting realm of trying to communicate with a coach who's screaming at you at the same time.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's what I did until I got into the Mid American Conference from Division III as a headlinesman. Worked that for 4 years, and then 2015 is when the Big Ten came with the. No, I'm sorry, 2014 is when the Big Ten decided to use the center judge full time. They didn't even experiment with it. They just put it on 8 crews, and I was one of the lucky 8 to slide right into it in 2014,
Okay.
and I've done it ever since.
So now
I'm
for the
I'm one of the
listeners out
OG
there,
guys at it.
very nice. So for the listeners that are out there that like I said, we've talked umpire, we've talked the short wings, the deep
Yep.
wings and stuff like that. We've had roundtables with referees, but you're the first center judge that I've had on. What is your positioning now with the SEC? Where are you lined up? Different things like that.
Yeah. So I've been very fortunate. I've had 2 position coaches so far. And one of them is if you're a football guy, you should know the name John Bible. Uh, Longtime football official. For about 20 years, he was writing an article every week in Referee Magazine about football
Okay.
mechanics. Worked a couple of college Division I national championships at the football level. He became our first position coach as a center judge. And he was very good about saying, hey, look, I never worked the position, I worked referee, but let's kind of figure it out together down in the SEC. And he was very good about just saying, get to a position where you can officiate the play.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for some guys, it was, hey, we're 14 yards deep and 2 yards outside of the tight end spot. Other guys are, hey, I'm 12 yards deep and I stand just outside the shoulder of the left tackle. We experiment a little while for getting, as wide as, is reasonable to see more things across the line of formation. So they give us some pretty good latitude as a center judge of where to be. I will tell you almost automatically, I got it down to I can get to where, I don't have to count steps or look at yard lines or anything else, but I back out and pretty much 100 times out of 101, I am 14 yards off the line of scrimmage, and I am directly behind the tight where the traditional tight end position is. That's where I stand. Depending on what the formation presents to me, if I got a tight end or a wing back or something else stacked up, maybe I get a little wider. It all depends on, in the college game, we got the tackle box that determines who can block low in certain situations, and you got to figure out who's in, who's out. So if you ever watch me on film, you might want, I'll walk around. You can see me point because I'm identifying my threat or my key of who can block low and who can't. And you'll probably, if you can see that, you'll also see me talk to myself. Boy, if they mic'd me up, Mike, you get some interesting one-sided conversations of just me telling myself what I need to do, who I need to look at, and what I believe the play is going to present.
So that's great stuff, because I've talked in the past about just some of the different positionings, excuse me, and some of the keys. And I'm an umpire, and then I'm in the traditional umpire spot on the defensive side of the ball in the high school. But on the kick games, especially, I'm going on my O to O, and I'm calling out the ineligibles, especially on the scrimmage kicks where the number enforcement is different. I'm calling
That's
out
right.
my ineligibles, and just me being able to verbalize it out loud, even if nobody else is paying attention to me and listening to me because they got their stuff going on. By
That's right.
verbalizing it, it helps me remember it. So anything were to happen and all of a sudden 14 gets a pass downfield, I'm like, wait a minute, I identified 14 as an ineligible.
That's
Now
right.
I'm ready to go. So
absolutely,
no.
every punt play, I'm doing the same thing with you. I'm calling out my numbering exceptions. I always use this statement, especially, you brought it up in one of your episodes I watched a couple weeks ago of what play do you despise or do you despise the most? And your whole group said any kind of kick play. and I heard that and I laughed, and I'm like, that is absolutely right. On any kind of kick play, I will say out loud to myself, who can hurt me here? And what I'm doing is I'm identifying eligibles or numbering exceptions, or, you got a number 35, but he's lined up as the left guard on a punt. I'm like, this guy can hurt me if he catches a pass.
Yep.
So those are the things I say out loud to myself during unique formations.
Now we had a play here in New Jersey a couple of years back, and it was before I was also a short wing before I moved to the middle of the field, and it was a kick game. It was an errant snap. Punter was scrambling around, and all of a sudden he just saw somebody, threw him a pass. It happened to be number 35, who now takes that pass and goes in and scores. So sure as heck, that kid was the guard, but it wasn't picked up on, and it actually ended up being the game-winning score, and it eliminated a team from the playoff contention because of that score. So it was a big deal and a big play, and it was like, okay, I need to do something in order to remember to myself what's going on. And same thing when I was a short wing. I'm identifying who's on, who's off. Okay, 17, you're off. So I know we're 17, you're covered. Different things like that. So just those verbal reminders to myself are things that definitely have helped me along the way with any position that I've worked.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it, and I'll tell you, and as a center judge and anybody else who works that spot or who is new to it, if you have access to game film, what an invaluable tool. And we'll talk about this a little bit more, Mike, of just in week preparation, but I will watch the last two games of each team I'm about to officiate on the weekend, and I look at all their punt plays. And so I'll write down. I don't use the typical game card that a lot of people use that are
Mhm.
pre-printed with everything. I carry a blank index card, and on the back of it, I will write down. I'll identify the numbering exceptions on the punt teams, and almost always those remain static, meaning that every week, unless there's an injury,
Yeah.
the five numbering exceptions are almost always the same. So I can get a good feel for, hey, they're using 17 and 27 as the left guard and tackle. They're using 30 and 33 as the right guard and tackle. So I get familiar with who these are. And so I write them down on my game card. And again, if you ever see me, if you ever watch game film of me, the first couple of punts, I will pull out my card and I will hold it up as I'm watching them line up. And I'm like, yep, exactly who I thought it was. Again, for me, it's all about eliminating surprise on these things. So I get a very good comfort level with it. And it's just one more way to figure out what's going to happen on Saturday before Saturday gets here.
Yeah, and if you go into that kick game saying I got to expect the unexpected in these plays, it does help you out from eliminating what could be that dangerous play like you were mentioning. So now,
Man, yeah, we've all been there. Is there any is there any worse feeling than on a kick play and it goes wrong or it's a fake, and like you said, somebody catches a pass and you're all we've all done it. We're like, where did that guy come from?
yep.
Yeah, yeah,
So now the center judge position, you are still working with the traditional umpire position, correct? There is still an
that is
umpire with
correct.
you, with
Yeah,
your crew. So that's
that is
where it's
correct.
been it's been a little bit unique because I've had on traditional umpires like myself on the defensive side, the umpires now in the offensive side, but now you've got basically a triangle of people that are focusing on the line between the referee, yourself as a center judge, and now your
That's right.
traditional umpire still in the middle of
Yep.
the field. So, can you talk about how that works between the three of you? Because we've kind of talked between the umpire and the referee in the backfield, but now having that third set of eyes, how is it that the three of you are communicating with each other and working with each other?
Yeah. So, just even that one phrase that you said, how are we communicating with each other? I believe the best thing that we do in our game, and regardless of the level, high school, college, or any of the levels within that, and start this at the junior high level, but it allows us to communicate more with the players, and it's such a powerful tool to the talk to, as we say. Telling a defensive lineman of, hey man, you went hands to the face, you got it off early, so it wasn't a foul, but keep your hands out of there. And so where I'm going with this is back to your question of, so often between the plays now, the umpire and I are communicating of, hey, 98. I think he caught that running back coming through the line for a potential defensive hold. Like, we're actually able to, between plays, alert each other better to potential fouls, which enables us to talk to players more frequently and with more
Hmm.
clarity about potential fallible action that we're seeing. We're able to talk guys off a ledge a little bit when they're running a little bit hot, a little
Yeah.
bit more, because now there's just basically, as you said, there's a third guy completing the triangle in the middle, which helps alleviate the workload a little bit. So that's probably the biggest thing that we do, is communicate with the players more, and with each other. Of, boy, I just saw the center and left guard. Man, they comboed this guy again, and the more they do it, the more the second block is. It started high, and now it's at the waist, and now, boy, he's sliding lower. We gotta warn these players and talk to them. So it's a better check and balance. I'll also tell you, when I first started at center judge, the number one and only job was to spot the football. And
Okay.
so I was running up back and forth, in my early years, I was putting a pedometer on it and I was clicking off 10 miles a game. Half of it was backwards. And now we've kind of, at least in our game in the Southeastern Conference, we're letting the umpire spot a lot more. And, it just makes sense. If there's a run up the middle and it goes for 6 yards and it drops right at the umpire's feet, and I'll look over my shoulder and I don't see a substitute coming, hey, let him drop it and we're good to go. Keeps the game going faster. The faster quicker we can get that ball back on the ground, the sooner the players break stuff up, they get back to what they need to do, the less talking there is, the more we can de-escalate unsportsmanlike conduct stuff or, just late action. So that's been a better thing that the center judge and umpire has been able to do lately. So it's been good.
I'm a big believer in the quicker that we can get that play clock going, the less incidentals you're going to have, because the kids are wanting to get back into the huddle or out of the huddle.
Absolutely.
If they know that they're now under the gun with time, that
That's right.
they're gonna shut their mouth, get back in, get the needed information. So the quicker we can get the ball spotted and going, the quicker that we can get that going. So, but I know a lot of times, and they have modified our rules a little bit. As soon as the play's over, we're starting it, so it's not even the ball spot. So I think that has also helped alleviate the game for us.
Yeah, for sure.
So I've got a question here by Kevin. Kevin, what's going on, buddy? Does getting the ball down faster help with the pace of the game when you have the TV timeouts and stuff to worry about, Chris? So, mind talking about that one?
Yeah, sure. And I'm sure it's like this in all the, I think what are we down to, Power Four conferences, or even anywhere else. Man, these in the SEC, these media timeouts, man, they crush you. It's like as soon as you get some momentum going, we got to stop for a 3.5 minute commercial timeout. But there's definitely a rhythm you get into of the play's over, boom, I run up, or it drops right at the umpire's feet. We get that ball on the ground. The referee, in most cases anymore, doesn't have to blow it in line. We're just, that ball is down and we are going. And, in a lot of conferences, there's a lot of teams where, they're going hurry up. They don't sub, which means the defense is on their own.
Yep.
And so, yeah, there's definitely a rhythm we get into, especially when you got a team that goes fast. So for us, Tennessee and Ole Miss down here, the typical game clicks off 180 snaps for us. I mean, those two teams will run at 220. So there's definitely, you're trying to not hold up the game. You're trying to not impede what the offense is trying to do. But at the same time, you got to keep in the back of your mind, they don't snap until we're ready. So, there's a little bit of that you got to work with too. A team gets a big game down the field. I gotta beat everybody down there to get the ball. I put it down. But still, I got to keep in the back of my mind. And I'll be honest with you, Mike, I pride myself on being down there before everybody else does.
Nice.
I'm still young enough. I had somebody ask me one time, hey, well, how does it feel when a 330-pound guy is faster than you and beat you down there? And I go, it doesn't happen. Because that's my job. I got to get down there before they do. But I put the ball down, but I still have to keep in mind, I got a back judge, 2 side judges who have to get 22 and 25 yards downfield further. So while we are going as quickly as we can, putting the ball down, sometimes I have to give my officiating crew time to get in position. We still don't snap until all 8 guys on the field are ready to go.
Now, as the center job, is that your responsibility of holding up the center? Because I know now you're behind the center, and also you
Yeah.
had brought up the substitution aspect. I know that that's been a little bit of a bone of contention with the college football game with the late substitutions and things like that. So, can you talk about that at all?
Yeah, I mean that's the job. The center judge was born out of this evolution of the game where teams were starting to go fast and they weren't giving the defense a fair advantage to match up. Offenses were going fast. They were switching a guy in and out. They were switching a big speedy wide receiver for a big blocking tight end, and then they would run up and snap the ball. And the defense, the offense was getting an unfair advantage. The defense couldn't match up, and the coaches came to the rules committee and said, "Hey, for the benefit of the game, give us an opportunity to match up so we can play it more fairly." So the center judge was born out of that in, I was thinking about this earlier this morning. I think it was 2012. The Big 12 was the first conference to experiment with it. Then they went full time in 2013, and then I think the Big 10 went full time in 2014. But it was born out of that necessity to allow the defenses to match up. Now here's the thing. We've been doing it for 10 years now. And I can't help it. The camera will catch me on TV smiling sometimes. Offenses go fast. We go down. I put the ball down. I stand behind the center. Sometimes I have to.
You have to do the T. Are you the cross official?
I don't do that. We don't do the T. As the center judge, I don't do the T. We will have the guys on the sideline when they see someone come in. They'll both give the T. They give it to the referee. He gives me the T, so I know to get up there. With the O2O, we can hear it verbally. I depend a lot on the verbal. I came up that way. I depend on it. Sometimes we miss it, and I look for the T. The T is also used. My referee will spin. He shows the T to the defensive sideline. Counts very slowly, 3 seconds. That's the window that's open for them to begin a substitution. As soon as that defensive substitute comes on and replaces somebody, that window closes. If the defense is late, we count very slowly to 3 and they've not subbed yet, that window closes. If they bring a guy on at 4 or 5, or the second defensive sub comes on at 4 or 5, or later, they're on their own.
Yep.
They've got to keep it up. These coaching staffs put in a tremendous amount of work on their personnel packages. They know. When they see a certain offensive formation, they know. They've studied that when a certain team gains if it's 1st and 10 and they gained 8 yards and now it's 2nd and 8, they know that they're going to the offense is going to quickly sub in a passing package, 2 big wide receivers. They know they got to get their nickel and dime defense in.
Yes.
It's not a surprise to them. But yeah, so I'll get the T. I stand behind the center. Sometimes I have to physically get between the center and quarterback, and the quarterback wants to go.
Yep.
And I go, "Hey, young man," and I try and do really well with their names too. I write them down. I'm like, "Mike, hey, you subbed. We got to wait. Sorry, just you subbed. We got to give defense the time to match up." They don't like it, but they know.
Yeah.
But they know. But yeah, it's exciting. I enjoy it.
And there's a lot of gamemanship that goes on with those, with the sub packages and different things like that.
1,000%.
So I know another one that's been going on now is you're given that 3-second window for the defense. and all of a sudden that defensive lineman is just kind of moseying on off the field instead of sprinting off the field. And I know that some offenses have been getting annoyed by that because they're trying to go,
Yeah.
and now all of a sudden the play clock is running down on them. So, um, is there anything in the works with stuff like that with the gamemanship? I mean, I know they talked about with the faking of an injury is
Right.
gonna possibly be affected, but how
Right.
about with the slow mosey off the field?
Oh, 1,000%. And our supervisor in the Southeast, John McDade, who is the supervisor of officials for both the SEC and Sun Belt conferences,
Okay,
he's done great work over the past couple of years of just snipping these film clips where a replaced defensive lineman just slowly. It's not even a jog. I mean, taking his time. But then, as he gets closer to the sideline, you see the defensive coaches knowing that they're about to get a substitution foul and they're yelling at him. And all of a sudden, this defensive lineman goes into a dead sprint.
yep,
So we know that they're gaming it. So what our supervisor is giving us some great guidance on is, we give the tee, we let, we're counting very graciously, 1,000, taking a breath. 2 1,000, taking a breath. We complete 3 1,000. If we can observe, and it's a team call, that if the referee observes that defensive lineman is just taking his sweet time, and the two sideline officials are like, we'll 0-2-0. He's taken way too long. He's dragging his feet. We close the window. The referee pushes me off. And if that quarterback wants to snap the ball while that slow guy is just walking across the numbers, we're gonna our supervisor has given us the guidance to, hey, close the window, push the center judge off the center, snap the ball. And you know what's funny, Mike, about that? These defensive subs are starting to move quickly to the sideline. So there's ways to clean it up without having to come up with a new rule and new enforcement to enforce. It kind of goes back to that question earlier in the chat box of, how quickly are you putting the ball down and getting off the center, and what's the rhythm of the game? We put the ball down, sub, we get to 3 1,000. If they're off, great. If we believe they're trying to game
yep.
the clock, we close the window. We let the quarterback go, and those defensive players, all of a sudden, they start to move a little quicker. It's funny how that works.
Amazing how that works. Yeah, it really does.
Amazing. Yeah.
No, because you're talking about games where you're getting 220 snaps in, so that's one of the areas that I know that they kind of try to slow those no huddle teams down, or those teams that are looking like. Heck, I worked a state playoff game this year here in New Jersey where the coach told us we snap the ball every 15 seconds. So like, coach, we'll have the ball spotted for you and we'll be in position, but same thing. I talk with the centers. I'm over the centers, and I'm like, I know you guys want to go fast, but if my guys aren't ready, I'm holding you up because we got to be ready just like you got to be ready. I said, I will get my butt out of the way as soon as I can and as quickly as I can, so you don't have to worry about me. But if I'm giving you the hold sign, don't even snap that ball. So,
man, I'll tell you what, that 15 seconds is a dream. We've got some schools here down south where, we have a 40-second play clock, and they're trying to snap it by 32. I mean, at
that's
8
amazing.
seconds, it's crazy. And there are some cases where you think that's not even possible, and they have practiced it and they have figured it out, and it's possible.
Yeah. Yeah, now this team was also a triple option team too. They were an old school flex phone team. So now you're going 15 seconds and they're motioning on every play too. They were very, very disciplined. It was actually a great, great football game to be a part of. So I was tired at the end of the game. I ain't gonna lie about that. But
yeah. But when you were talking earlier about the referee, umpire, center judge triangle connection, it's just another, and it's nowhere in the mechanics book that I can see. But we have a 20-yard gain, and I look over my shoulder and there's no subs, and we know we got a team that's going fast. We let the umpire set it down. He gets out of the way. I hang back. And that enables us as an officiating crew to honor and work within that 8-second window, that 15-second window. And, you can get in that groove where you can run 6-7 plays like that, and it works.
Well, that's great stuff. That is.
Yep.
So, Chris, I'm going to take a quick pause here. I'm going to take a quick commercial break here, and then we're going to dive back in. I want to touch on your new book that you have out, and I just saw that you're now doing the audio version of it too. So when we get back, we're gonna dive into whistles and wisdom. So stay tuned, everybody.
Imagine experiencing the world's most thrilling sports events firsthand. Welcome to Debro Destinations, your ultimate partner for unforgettable sports travel experiences. From the excitement of the Super Bowl to the global spectacle of the World Cup, we offer exclusive access to major sporting events worldwide. Cheer on your favorite teams in college sports or experience the electric atmosphere of the English Premier League. For golf enthusiasts, explore our curated golf packages at top courses around the world. Whether it's a corporate outing or a fan experience at an iconic stadium, our team ensures seamless logistics and unforgettable memories. And for young athletes, let Debro Destinations create unforgettable youth team experiences, so you can focus on the games instead of the travel. Plan your dream event today with Debro Destinations and make your sports travel bucket list a reality. Email Mike D at debrodestinations@gmail.com.
All right, we are back. Here we go. Got Chris Garner here from the SEC joining us today. And Chris, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about what you got going on? Let me pull this up really quick. There we go. So here it is. We got Whistles and Windows. It is on Amazon. So Chris, why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about your book here?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for that, Mike. I believe, some of my youngest childhood memories, I've always envisioned writing a book. I had no idea what about. I believe everybody, or most people certainly, have this thought of writing a book. Even you yourself, think about all the football stories you have, and all of us in our professional, everyday 8-to-5 jobs. I think we've all sat at our desk and said, man, I should write a book about the crazy things that happened to me at work. And once I got into football officiating, once I got into college, I started I'm so fortunate. I get to go to all these cool places. I get to see all this great football across the country. Mike, as you know, every now and then some goofy things happen both on and off the field. And I just started saying, this is the book. And I just started writing stuff down. And, I started doing it 6 or 7 years ago. And, I would write down something, on a piece of paper. And I'll be honest with you, I would 6 or 9 months would go by, I'd forget about it. And then next football season would come along and I'd write down 1 or 2 more things. And, maybe another 6 months would go by. But then I got kind of serious about it 2 or 3 years ago. And I just started writing and writing and writing and writing. And then one day, I had a fan here in the southeast part of the country who came up to me one time and said to me, they said, Chris, how does this work? Does Nick Saban call you on Saturday morning and ask you if you can officiate his game later that afternoon? And I thought, oh my gosh, 2 things hit me immediately. Number one, absolutely nothing can be farther from the truth.
Yeah.
But 2, that's what people think, Mike. And especially here in the Southeast, and I know in other, football hotbeds across the country, people come up with some very interesting, unique, thoughts, conspiracy theories. They think we hang out with coaches on Tuesday night, and nothing could be farther from the truth. And when this fan asked me this 5 or 6 years ago, I said, that's it. My book needs to be around. Here's all the stuff that you thought or assumed, but here's really what we do. And as I was going through the writing process and I was telling people, hey, I'm working on a book, here's what it's about. Here's what the weekly preparation is. Here's what happens when we go to a stadium or a college town on a Friday afternoon. Here's what we got to go through. I'm always surprised how often people said, I didn't realize you guys worked that hard, or I didn't realize how much was involved. You guys got to take all these tests. You get graded on every play of every game. We had no idea. And so that's how the book really came together. And two things, Mike, the more I wrote, just the more I wanted to share with people how hard we work.
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing is, the more I wanted to express gratitude for the game of what it has taught me. And I wanted to connect it to some leadership lessons. And the more I wanted to thank the people who helped me get to where I got to, because if it weren't for, I jokingly say 300 people, but it's probably pretty close, of people that I've interacted with across my entire career as I was coming up, junior high, high school, Division III college, and on. I mean, it's been a couple of hundred people that I've learned from, and helped me get to where I'm at today. And I could write a volume of, multiple books of individual stories of thanking people. And I just tried to capture a couple, and I tell some stories about some additional people, and the acknowledgments at the end of the book could be an entire chapter on its own of, I wouldn't be here today if it weren't so many people helping me. And, I wanted to write about that as well. And I just, this is part of it. How can I give back to the world of officiating that has blessed me with so much? And that's part of the book as well.
That's awesome stuff. And I just love hearing you talk and knowing now, learning your background a little bit from where you started off, the military background, the leadership stuff that you do, and the work that you do, and how it all kind of ties into everything. And we talk about how sport is just a microcosm of life. It truly is, in
No doubt
my
about it.
personal opinion, and how much the lessons that we learn on the field carry over to what we do as parents, as employees, as leaders that are out there, and all those things kind of tie in together. It really is. It's very symbiotic to hear that, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm very much looking forward to reading the book myself. I haven't had a chance to crack it open yet, but I'm looking forward to it, and I'm excited to get that.
Yeah, great. I'm super happy to do it. And, I no sooner got it done, and I looked around, and I'm like, there's a bunch of stuff that, I got a lot more stories in the back pocket. And, so I see a second one coming. Part of the book in the introduction, I write about how, when I was in the Big Ten. There was as I hinted at the beginning of the podcast here, there was a time where I thought I was headed down the referee path. And so I'm in a referee breakout section with then Big Ten referee Alex Kemp, who's now a referee in the NFL.
Yep.
And we were talking about, announcements and stuff like that. And we were still at a point in time. This is probably, 2009, 2010, somewhere around in there. And we're still at a point as a referee where you just announce the foul and you don't use the microphone for anything else. And Alex said, he goes, fans want to know what's going on. I'll never forget him saying, give the people what they want. What they want is what is going on. Feel free to expand a little bit about, maybe why it wasn't a catch, or a little bit more detail about, the action on the pass interference foul, obviously without getting yourself in trouble. But if something's a complicated ruling, explain it. Share with the fans what's going on and why it's that way. And I just thought about that, in the book of people want to know. there there are so many people out there who think this is our full-time job,
Yeah, I
that
know.
we just sit around all day long and do stuff. I'll share with you a quick story. My first exposure ever in the SEC when I moved south, I was invited to work a practice at LSU. And back then, the coach at LSU was Les Miles.
Okay.
I'll tell you what, one of the most gracious guys I've ever met. Well, I'm sitting there, I'm trying to work practice. I'm at my spot. I'm evaluating threats, reading keys. And he walks just right up next to me. He's like, "So where are you from? How long you been down here?" The snap is intimate. I got guys running in motion. I'm trying to figure out who can block low and who can't. He's like, "Oh, Ohio. Yeah, I go up there. I recruit all the time. Where'd you go to high school?" And like the snap's coming. I'm trying to backpedal. And he's like, "Oh man, oh yeah, where you live? Yeah, I know that part of town a lot." Like he's just like, "Coach, I love you. You're a great guy, but I'm trying to work."
Yeah.
But we got to a point to where he thought this was our full-time job. He
Even at
thought
that
we
level.
actually went to an office and sat at a desk and called around like golf tournaments. "Hey, do you need a marshal on the back nine for your scramble this weekend?" Like that's what he thought we did. Because these
That would be
coaches live in a vacuum where they sit in a film room 60 to 80 hours a week.
yeah.
They don't understand what we do or how we do it. And it's just, as I went through my career of football, I just kept running into people who had the craziest assumptions
Mm-hmm.
of what we do and what we do or don't do in preparation for a game on Saturday.
Yeah.
So
Even at I'm sorry. Yeah. Even at the highest
yeah,
level with the NFL, I think there's maybe a dozen full-time officials now in
just
the
a
NFL,
handful.
if
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so speaking with them, they've all got other jobs and lives outside of football, which I know back in my days as a coach, it was a dream to just be a full-time football coach and to eat,
Oh
sleep,
yeah.
drink football. And well, we're still doing that, but we're also
I'm all
dads
about
and
it.
moms and working and different things like that. So
Yeah.
I want to go
But
back to
yeah,
a
just go
go
ahead.
ahead. I
I was just
wanted
going
to
to say,
next.
the more, personally for me, the more I have openly shared what it is, officials of any sport, how much time and work and personal money people pour into it, going to camps. And I got a chapter in there on patience. You touched on earlier, I moved up kind of fast. Yeah, 10 years. If
Yeah.
10 years is fast, which it is in officiating circles in college football, some guys, and ladies, it's 12 years, it's 15 years, it's 20 years. I talk about I got a guy who's in the SEC now. I think it took him close to 30, but he never gave up on the dream. And I just did a LinkedIn post today. I got that clip about Rory McIlroy. Took him 17 years to win the Masters. And
Yeah.
he talks about never giving up on your dream. That's what sports officiating is. We get into it because we have this aspiration to achieve something, whatever it is. And it takes time. And I have this sincere place in my heart for any sports official who dedicates what ends up being the bulk of their life
Mm-hmm.
to helping participants of sports to be able to play the game. I was telling somebody I did a book signing the other night, and there was a young man in the audience. He was 14 years old. I said, imagine if you went to your football game, your lacrosse game, your soccer game, your baseball game, whatever it is, your basketball game, and you couldn't play it because there weren't enough officials.
I've got a T-shirt. It's a practice.
Yeah,
That's all it is a practice. You're
that's it.
100% right.
That's it.
And I wanted to touch on something you brought up talking about in your referee breakout sessions and using the microphone and speaking, and how some people think what we do is easy. Well, I'm a teacher. I'm in education, and I
Yeah.
have 17, 18-year
Yeah.
old students, and I'm like, "Hey, do me a favor. I want you to go stand in front of this class of 25 and talk." And they can't do it.
Yeah.
They're scared. But now let's
Yeah.
put a microphone on somebody, put them on the middle of
Oh,
the field
goodness.
with 110,000 people screaming and yelling at them and a couple million people at home watching them, and let's put a
Mm,
microphone in there, and they've got to turn that mic on and explain what just happened and do it kind of seamlessly. Like if
that's right.
how would you feel if that person was up there and they were stage fright and they were frozen? So it's not an easy job, and
No, it's not.
this is why we still do want more people, because but those are the life lessons now that I know that I can feel comfortable and I can go and stand in front of. Now I'm a teacher,
Yeah.
so I'm doing it all the time, and you're doing your
Yeah.
keynote speaking. So for us, it's kind of second nature, but for other
Yeah.
people, it's not. And again,
No.
it's a life lesson to be able to go and do stuff like that. It's going to help them out in life to be able to do that. So even at the
Right.
high school level, I'm not mic'd up when I'm a referee. It's very rare that we're mic'd up to the PA system, but I'm announcing all of my flags when I'm wearing that white hat. I'm announcing it like I
Good for you.
was working a
Yeah.
Saturday big time game, just because it gets me into the habit. And also, I got a big Italian booming voice. The coaches tend to be able to hear me on the home side, so that's where I'm
Yeah.
talking.
Yeah. Yeah. But even before that, for any official, before you get to that step of the foul announcement, when you have 100,000 people booing you, and I don't know why, but it's both fan bases.
Yes.
They're on you, and you're at the hash mark, and there's the coach. He's out on the numbers, and he's letting you know that he's not happy with it. But somehow you and your fellow officials, and again, it's across all sports, you have to come together sometimes, and you have to communicate. You got to block it all out. You can hear them booing. You can hear the assistant coaches. You can hear the players in the huddle giving you their opinion of what they believe did or did not happen. And you got to shut it all out, because it seems like an hour, but it's really only about 15 seconds
Hmm.
where you and your counterparts are talking of, look, I've got going back to kick plays. I was telling somebody the other night in a talk I was given, the fouls are easy, but when you get into a kick play, the complexity of the options skyrockets. There's so
Yes.
many different things you can do. And just being able to calm it all down and saying, okay, look, this is what happened. Here's what the options are. You may want to bang out a quick holding foul, but actually we got to get an option because he may want to decline it. The coach may want to decline it because there might be a better way to adjudicate this thing.
Yes.
And so announcing it is one thing, but being able to have the courage to walk in and go, wait a minute, there might be another way to enforce this. To be able to do it, what I call communicating with clarity, instead of just running in and going, hey, we got a DPI, you know what to do with it, and running out. Well, it might be a spot foul. It might be, might be weird. It might be one of those where it's a DPI at the 13 and we're going to go straight to the 2 in the college game.
Yep.
Being able to have the courage to slow it down and the clarity to talk through every last detail of it. And then, I talk about this in the book when I do talk about communication, courage, clarity. And the last one is commitment. I'm committed to making sure we get it right. And if I got to come up and tell you, if you have some announcement and I'm standing there with a football ready to mark it off, and I go, well, that didn't sound right at all. Hey, Mike, I just heard you announce defensive pass interference half the distance to the goal. No. We're going the full 15.
15.
Having the commitment to partner with you to ensure we're doing the right thing the right way, and saying, hey, Mike, it's okay. Just back to microphone usage. Just saying, Mike, there's nothing wrong with just saying, hey, correction, we're going the full 15 to the 2-yard line.
Yep.
On the foul. don't say one thing and then enforce another, but just having that courage to do it, the clarity to talk it through, and I am committed to you as my crewmate to ensuring that we did get it right. Yeah. Nobody likes to walk into the locker room at the end of the game and going, "Hey, I heard you say half the distance, but that was wrong, and I didn't say anything to you about it." What's that say about me as an official?
No, you're right. And it takes courage to address that. It also takes courage to admit that you made a mistake too, as that other person. So, and now that person has even more courage because now they're going to announce it. And you do hear it often, and it is something. Correction, that penalty is being enforced, and people wonder what's going on, what's taking so long, why are they talking to each other? Well, it's because we're making sure that we get it right for you the best that we can, and make sure that everybody is on the same page too, that they know their options and their choices.
And I always, I'm a pretty positive guy. But I like to poke fun, at the announcers a little bit. There's some, when you're doing a TV broadcast, they're not shy about pointing out your mistake.
No, they are not.
Oh, the referee just said, it's half the distance to the goal, but yet they put the ball at the 2. I don't think they're on the same page here, Carl. They like to get on us a little bit. If I can do something that will prevent that, if I can do something that, hey, we need to make a correction here. And to be fair to the announcers, they will then come back and they go, all right, our referee Mike just came back and said correction. We're actually going to go to the 2-yard line. So that makes sense. They'll give us that positive reinforcement as well. So, being able to communicate with courage, clarity, and commitment, that will relay to the broadcast. And, doesn't matter if you're working high school, so many of these high school games are televised.
Yes.
And especially if you're working playoffs or championship games and they've got a full complement of a television production, you learn to work within that, and you learn to understand that the better you can communicate with them, they will help you look good if you give them the tools to do that.
100%. Well, Chris, we've kind of hit that hour mark. This really went fast. I didn't expect it to be an hour. I just looked up at the time. So one more time, why don't you give a quick plug of your book, and let me share the screen one more time there.
Yeah, Mike, I really appreciate that. Yeah.
Where else can people find the book?
Yeah, I mean, anywhere you get your books. I just got it on Amazon. I know it's on Barnes and Noble. Yeah, so you can go there and get it. I've had some fun with it. I bought a couple of my own just to see how fast it takes, and you get them in a couple of days. So paperback version, hardback. You can get it on Kindle. As you were kind enough to mention, I just went and recorded the audiobook a couple of weeks ago in Atlanta. That should be available hopefully by the end of April here. And just same with your podcast. Wherever you get your podcast or audio consumables, you should be able to find it there in a couple of weeks.
Good stuff. Good stuff. This really is excellent. And ladies and gentlemen, make sure, go out, make that purchase. It's definitely going to be a worthwhile read. Chris, once again, truly appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to jump on here today. Ladies and gentlemen, go out there. I got Kevin jumping back on one more time. Wanted to remind you that Auburn never holds, is what he says. He's a War Eagle fan. So Kevin's is a co-official with us too. So, but he's got the fandom going. So
good for him.
But Chris, thank you once again for taking the time.
My pleasure.
Go out, ladies and gentlemen, find that book, Whistles and Wisdom. Great read, great person, and look us up. If you got any questions, hit me up. Mike D, the referee at gmail.com. Once again, hit those like buttons, hit those subscribe buttons, and let's go out there. And football season's right around the corner, ladies and gents. So let's get rolling with it. Chris, thank you once again.
Thanks, Mike.